I will say this, it might hit hard to a lot of parents and maybe they might not agree. They didn't ask for it.
Yep.
You are giving because you didn't get it. Yes, they loved it, but they didn't ask.
I wanted to welcome you to be part of our founding series, and I'm so excited that we got to connect a couple of times. I came across you on LinkedIn, and I'd love for you to sort of introduce yourself, but I'll kind of start off with what really
Mhm.
attracted me to like reach out to you. In fact, it's like just your experience as a psychologist and your work with schools, and in particular work with like adolescents. As a parent myself, I resonated with a lot of the things that you had discussed, and I did not get a chance to see your webinar, but the topic was very, very close to my heart, right? Like just dealing stress in children, and how they sort of navigate their own mental health landscape. So maybe we could start with you just letting our listeners, give them a little bit of a background. I'll let you say it in your own words, because I'm very partial to you. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. And it was wonderful interaction. It's always been a wonderful interaction between the two of us. Though it's been just what, 2 or 3 maybe, but it
Yeah.
feels like we know each other for a long time. Yeah. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So just a small introduction for myself is I'm a trained psychologist. I've done my master's from Bombay University in social counseling, social and counseling psychology. I went on to doing short courses in REBT. I'm a certified NLP, that is Neuro Linguistic Programming life coach. I have authored a book, Student Success Journey from X to 10X, and I take webinars. It's been almost 18 years I'm in this field. I've worked with 3 years old to 50 years old, you know.
So you've seen
Uh,
the gamut, right? You've seen
yeah,
it all.
yeah. I've worked with an NGO, I've freelanced, worked with couples, worked with individuals, but always what has been close to my heart is adolescence. And the reason I worked with everybody because I didn't want to have regrets in my life that I stuck only to
Mm.
adolescence. So
Yep.
before I felt like, yes, this is like what I want. I tried everything, NGOs and corporates and everything. So it's been almost 15 years working with adolescents and the parents and the educators of adolescents.
Yep.
So yeah, and born and raised in Mumbai, now settled in Dubai, and
Awesome.
life is
Awesome.
happy.
That's all that we can ask for, right? And then I really liked when you said that you sort of tried everything, right? Like, and then you kind of followed your passion. And I really think, the foundation of this generation's mental health really should, start at that adolescent level, because it's really important
Absolutely.
understanding like coping mechanisms when you are a child or when you're a teenager, and then equipping parents also with those tools and resources on how we can encourage, maintain our children's emotional and mental stability. Because a lot of the times, and I'm very guilty of this, um, we use our lived experiences and our past experiences on on raising children, and then we complement it by learning, okay, what is the newest thing out there right now, like, okay, how do I talk to my child, or oh, screen
Absolutely.
addiction is a thing now, okay, so now I need to like kind of focus on that and figure it out. And our mind, like as parents, there's just so much of chaos in our mind, right, when we are trying to raise our children in the best possible
True.
way.
Yeah. So first you asked me, adolescent is the age that you said, where it's very important that you start with mental health. I totally agree with it because I see adolescent as, that wet mud or a clay which can be molded. Now, if you give if you mold it with your love, nurturance, and care, it's like a good pottery you get. Otherwise, the it will take a different shape which you probably wouldn't like. So definitely, it's a very I'll not say risky, but it's a very stage where you have to be very careful how you're molding them, because one wrong step, and as you said, you may end up with lot of guilt. And we usually, I have seen that parents, when they are going to become a parent, they promise themselves that I will not be like my parents. but
Yep.
uh, but the known devil is better than the unknown devil. we
Right.
end up we end up like our parents, because that's what we've seen. We can also call it modeling, we can also call it that's what we've grown up as. However, very important over here is two aspects are very important, which is not only how do you navigate in today's world with technology, with screen time, with plethora of knowledge, and you want to give the best to your child, is communication. You
Yep.
have to maintain a open and a good communication with your child. Along with that, trusting your child, because and it's not just child. If you take any relationship in today's world, these are the two most important factor on which a relationship is built.
Yep.
And when I say communication, I'm not just saying the way you communicate through words, but it is always, and it is more, how you communicate through your body language, through
Yep.
your tone, through your touch. A touch communicates a lot. And it has to be something which has to be right from when the child is maybe in your womb, or maybe as a infant. It has to be right from them. It cannot, once suddenly, you cannot just wake up, oh, now my child is 13 years old or 12 years old, or I have to be the friend now. Uh, that's shocking, even for the like, what happened to my mom, or what
Yep.
happened to my dad, and they are not my parents. They are acting differently, so there's something wrong with them. So
Yes.
it
Yes.
yeah, so they are also, they will be shocked too. So yes, it has to be a pattern right from the child, when the child is an infant.
Yep. And I've got that as well, right? Like I'm a mom to, like, I have a 14-year-old and I have like a 10-year-old. And so I've seen how, with my 10-year-old, I'm very nurturing, right? It's almost like you're still a baby and I still need to take care of you, and I need to do things for you. I'm taking care of all of your needs. And then I realized that with my 14-year-old, like as he's entering high school, I'm like, you need to start doing things on your own now. Like I can't do, ABC. You're 14. And then he, like, literally asked me one day, like, how do you expect me to do stuff when you've never given me the chance to, like, do it before? Like I can't and this was his exact words, right? Like I can't do things overnight.
True.
And so that's when I, like, had to take a step back and be like, okay, how am I setting up my children for success, right? Like how do, as parents, um, when is it okay to sort of loosen the reins a little bit, almost, because we lived in a generation where, again, like, we didn't have access to information. So we ended up doing, like, everything for our children. Like, our parents did everything for us because they were like, oh no, our kids may not know how to do it, because as parents we have more experience, we've passed this age. And my son again told me, when you were 14, it was a different
Era.
generation, it was a different life, it was a different era. When I'm 14, we have access to, like, more things. And so now with with my 10-year-old, I've slowly started to, like, communicate more, get him to be a little bit more independent, because I'm learning from my 14-year-old, right? And so
Absolutely.
I think it would be very interesting, like, even for, like, when you said, like, communication, I'm very curious to understand, like, how do you start that? Like, because I receive those awkward glances and looks, and like, why you try, like, what's going on, like, why you being like extra friendly, uh why you asking me so many questions, and
Questions.
you're trying to be like the cool
True.
parent because you want to create that environment of trust. But how do you do it without being so awkward about it?
See, as I said, it wouldn't be awkward if that's your style right from the beginning.
Right.
So when I say communication, let's go to the terrible two, where the children are throwing tantrum,
Yeah.
and usually what do we do? Either we give in to the tantrum,
Yeah.
or we will hit or shout, or feel embarrassed and guilty if it's a public place, right? But right over there, if you communicate, like, what, we are going to a supermarket, and this is the purpose of it.
Hmm.
This is how I expect you to behave. And if your behavior is so and so, if you've had instances of tantrums, then I might have to cancel your trips to supermarket with me. And these will be the consequences. So you're preparing the child what is going to happen, in what scenario he's going, and how is he expected to behave there, and what is not expected, what is non-negotiable, and everything has a consequence. So if
Yeah.
the things goes as we have discussed, it will have a positive consequence, and things, if we does not go as we have discussed, it will have a negative consequence. So what happens over here, not only you are preparing the child, but you're laying the foundation of, as your 14-year-old said, you've never taught me, right?
Yeah.
So you're teaching the child even to communicate the expectations when he is growing up. What does
Yeah.
he expect? He's been hearing it from you, so it will not be suddenly something which is new. Oh, suddenly what happened to my mom,
Yeah.
and is she trying to be too friendly? No, it's not that. And also, you are teaching him to appropriately express himself, and you're teaching him life skills like negotiation.
Yeah.
When we negotiate what is expected and what is not expected, and what could be the consequence, you're also teaching him thinking skills, that this leads to this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We are not getting into the pattern of punishments and, screaming, shouting. It's just a plain logical understanding that this leads to this. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
we are
think that's
teaching
such
a
a
lot of
valid point.
things to the child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you, again, like, this is why I love talking to you, because like there are so many snippets here, right? Like that communication, setting of expectations, the consequences of what happens if things like don't necessarily go according to plan. And it's funny that we discuss this from like a parent child relationship when we do this as adults in our lives anyways, right? So
True.
communicating with like other adults, or like setting expectations, and that the consequence of not following through things. And more often than not, sometimes when it comes to our children, we're like, we tend to kind of go back to not knowing what to do, because it's we have these skills already. And like you rightfully said,
Absolutely.
it's about how you set that expectation, or set that sort of course right from the beginning.
See, so when we are setting, expectations and consequences, we are humans, right?
Yeah.
Everything will not go as per our plan. Child will still throw tantrums, or your teenager will still do things that is,
Yeah.
non-negotiable,
Right.
or what you didn't expect.
Yeah.
At that point of time, it's very important as a parent, as a human, to, express how you're feeling at that moment. It's okay when you say, sit down with your child, as you said, sit with your child and say, what, let's have a heart to heart conversation, and tell them, see, this behavior really angered me or
Yeah.
saddened me, or made me happy, if it is, something to be proud
Mm-hmm.
and happy about.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's important to let the child know how did you feel
Yep.
and what it made you, do. And because of that feeling, now, it is little difficult maybe to communicate or to trust him, or to, you're scared. It's okay to tell your child you are scared. If your 14-year-old is 14-year-old for the first time, do not forget that you are also for the first
Yeah.
time being a mother to a 14-year-old.
Exactly.
And we do not have any courses or any books. Yes, there are a lot of books on parenting, but each child is different, each
Yep.
parent is different. So we don't have a crash course that this is the right thing, or
Yep.
that is the right thing, or this theory will fit in. So yes, don't be so harsh on yourself. And you are being a parent for the first time. It's important that you communicate your feelings as well, and that the child will also do so. Yeah, like what it happened to him, what he went through, what he felt at that moment, and then again restart the
Yep.
expectation negotiation.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
that's
that's an
important.
important point, right? It's okay to restart. It's okay to be
Absolutely.
vulnerable in front of your child. I think that sets the ground for your child to be vulnerable as adults or young adults or parents themselves, right? Because we want to sort of mold that behavior. And I think for the longest time, the challenge I had was saying sorry to my child because I was not raised in that way where my parents had to apologize to me.
I'll say, not that our parents never told us sorry,
Yeah.
but their way of saying sorry was very mixed, or mixed
Yes,
message. Because if
absolutely
something
right.
happens, they would then, in the evening, just come and maybe pamper us a little, or maybe just they would
So
say, let's
true. So
let's
true.
let's let's go for an ice cream. Okay, oh, okay, they would say, let's cook your favorite dinner, or they will say, okay, you can watch TV extra. So they felt sorry, but they wouldn't come and say it, but they would, say it in their action. And that
Yes.
is not healthy. Reason being, because you're sending mixed messages to the child.
Yep.
Because some time ago, or maybe in the morning, you were bursting out with anger, and suddenly you're pampering him, and suddenly you're saying, hey, let's go for your favorite ice cream, or you go with your favorite chocolate. The child is like, what's
Yeah.
wrong? What happened? What happened? Like, that parent and this parent is different. However, when you go and say that that was not acceptable, you are teaching the child to say sorry too when he will be wrong. It
Hmm.
is difficult. Trust me, it is extremely difficult.
Yep.
It was difficult for you as a parent. It is difficult for me to tell sorry to even my friends. I can imagine, how difficult it is as a parent, because we think we are adults. We are infallible. We know what is good. We know what is the best. And I cannot be wrong. And telling your child, look, I messed up. And that was not, it is courageous. It is
Yeah.
courageous. But yes, at least it will not send mixed messages.
Yeah.
Plus, as why I keep telling that what your child will learn, because you are a role model. As I said, communication is not just words, but they will model you. They will see how you are behaving with them. If you tell them to say sorry, nowadays kids are so aware, and
Yeah.
so they will say, but you know what, mom, you were wrong, but you never said sorry to me.
Yes. Yes.
And they do that. Gone are the days where our parents would show us big eye, and we be like, okay,
Yeah,
now.
I know. Now they ask you, why are you showing? Why are you glaring at me?
So they're like, you are teaching me something, but you're not practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's important, because the child is seeing us.
Yeah.
What we cannot, we have to now walk out of,
Yep.
because otherwise, yes, they are very quick to pick up that this is not what you are teaching me. You're just preaching me.
Yep,
So
exactly, exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's such a great point, right? In the fact that our children will emulate us and will without us even realizing. And I know we had this conversation where you like, oh, the child is like, when they laugh or when they walk or when they do stuff, oh, they look just like their dad or they look like their mom. And
Absolutely.
we forget that it's a very subconscious way of the child, and even like the child emulating us and modeling us and mirroring us. And so it's only natural that the way we talk, even when we speak to like our spouse or our friends or our
Absolutely.
parents for that matter, right? Like the way I speak to my mom and dad is what my kids are seeing and observing and noticing. And so it's really important for us to be conscious of that. And I think as parents, we just need to, and I say this because again, we discussed this, is we need to be constantly conscious of that. In your experience, right? Like since you've worked with a gamut of adolescents, like not just from the UAE or, but also from India. So you have that experience and expertise of seeing across two different geographies. As parents, I'm sure we all want to know, what are like the high stressors for like kids these days, and how can us as parents help to like mitigate that risk or set our children up for success? And this is a loaded question, I know, and we could talk for hours
Absolutely.
on this.
Absolutely. You know, first of all, let me tell you, when we understand, before we understand success, it's important to understand failure, right? And when we
Yeah,
make our kids understand, or when we tell them there's nothing called failure, I
yeah,
very, very strongly believe that there's no failure. You know, when things don't go as per your plan, you don't fail. Either you learn, there's always a feedback. You
hmm,
learn what has worked for you, and you learn what has not worked for you, and then you restart. So,
amazing. Yeah,
so when you tell that there's nothing called failure, so what is there then? Only
hmm,
success, right? And
yeah,
and it's okay if my child is a little 1 year late in achieving the success that is appropriate for him. You know,
yeah,
if we take off that burden of the child's shoulder, that you have to complete your high school when you are 16, and you have to have a career when you're 21, and by 25 you should be earning, and by 26, so and
yeah,
so, uh, that is like a burden.
yeah.
Why can't he go at his own speed?
Yeah, I
Why?
think as parents, we need to understand that. We need to
Absolutely. and
realize
and
that.
and why can't he go as per his skill? Maybe your neighbor's child is good with balancing his other activities and academics, but I'm very sure if you sit down for a moment and think your child is also capable of certain things, maybe your neighbor's child is not.
Yeah, yeah. It's really about looking at what your child has to offer and really cultivating that, right? And recognizing that
Absolutely.
and growing that. And it may not be your version of what we've been
Yes.
ingrained.
You know what we do, especially as Indian parents, we always want our unfulfilled wish to be fulfilled by our children, but that's so unfair. If just because I couldn't be a doctor, I will wish, and I will wish it in such a way,
Yeah.
and I communicate in such a way to my child that he will be pressurized, to become a doctor, or I
Right.
would tell him, you will have to become a doctor, or you will become a doctor. So, why are we making them our
Yeah.
first wish fulfilling person or thing? No, it's okay if we didn't achieve it. It's okay. And then what happens? His child will fulfill his wish, and then the cycle
Absolutely.
goes on and
Absolutely.
on. So when are we going to break it, and where are we going to break it? So it's okay. Similarly, why did I say that? Because we do that. And it's not just about career, that we say you have to become a doctor or an engineer, but so many things.
Yeah.
I couldn't learn dance. You should learn dance. We tell, I didn't get so many facilities, I didn't get so many opportunities, and I'm giving you so and so. It's okay, you want to give him,
Yeah.
always remember. And I will say this, it might hit hard to a lot of parents and maybe they might not agree. They didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
You are giving because you didn't get it. Yes, they loved it, but they didn't ask. Maybe what they asked you might have not given.
That is so true because
You might
this
have
is
said,
what
oh,
I love
football,
talking to
football
you.
cannot be a career. No, 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 no football.
Just because we did not get a lot of things, we tend to overcompensate with our children, and then we expect gratitude in return for something they didn't even ask for.
No, I'm sorry, I'll interrupt you here. What you said, what is the one burden with the parents? Nowadays, what I see a lot, the parents are either over fulfilling or over giving,
Yep.
or they are neglecting. When I say neglecting, they just don't have time. They are
Yep.
just not involved. You just don't know what is happening with the child. Yes, maybe at the materialistic level, in terms of providing for food, shelter, clothing, education, they've given that all. But they're not spending time. They're not, bonding. They're not aware what their child's likes, dislikes are. They're not involving them in communication. Or it's the other way around, you are compensating too much with materialistic things and giving them without asking the latest thing, the latest gadget, the latest experience, the
Yep.
best holiday destination. Let him earn, let him ask. So it's either too much of giving, or
Yep.
either it's being neglected to the extent that parents don't even see their child's face, or sometimes they don't even know what is happening. So it's
Yep.
it's it's either of the extreme.
Yep.
It's important to have a balanced approach,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yep.
it's important, if you're giving something materialistic, let the child ask for it. Let the child know that he wants it and he needs it. It's
Yep.
like you're feeding the child even when he's not hungry. He
Yep.
will puke,
Yep. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So that's not healthy for him. Let him feel the hunger,
Yeah.
and let him, so he will have gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
He will value. He will not take things for granted.
He'll have empathy because I think that's something that
Absolutely.
we need all our children to
Absolutely.
have.
He'll develop a lot of skills. Let him earn it.
Yeah.
If it's a PSP, or if it's a iPhone, or if it's a iPad, let him earn it.
Yeah.
It should be a reward which can be earned through various ways. And that is where when negotiation helps,
Mm-hmm.
and he values because
Absolutely.
he's earned it.
Yeah.
And it's not about just materialistic. Sometimes, most of the times, let me tell you, kids want their parents to be appreciating them, to recognize their strengths, to recognize their hard work. They might not say so. They might, we as a parent might think, oh, they are, teenagers are too much into friends and with friends.
Mm-hmm.
But they
Mm-hmm.
actually want that one pat on their back from their parent, job well done. And that
It's like
makes
you
their day.
said, those
Yeah,
non-verbal cues
absolutely.
matter a lot, I think, for the
Lot.
teenage phase, right? And then
Yes.
that is so awesome.
They will not say, yeah, they will not ask for it, but that
Yep.
matters.
Yep.
If we have time, I'll just give you one
Sure,
example.
sure, absolutely.
Just today, in fact, I was talking to one parent, and this child has very eccentric behavior in the school, and just not respecting, just like, very, you can say it is like a misbehavior. And
Hmm.
when I had to talk to the parent, I got to know where is it coming from. It is coming from the fact that initially when the child was small, the father had a very good rapport with the child and very loving, bond with the child. But
Hmm.
now suddenly the father kept on saying, for her, family is not important, friends are important, friends are important, and I have to be strict with her, and I have to teach her the values of things, and how things must be orderly. And I use aggression also, and I use, I do shout also. So over here, so she is doing more of those misbehavior because she wants attention from the child or from the
Yeah.
father. And that negative behavior is getting her what she wants.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize this. Obviously, it's happening at the unconscious level, that those by that she's fulfilling that attention, the need for attention from the father. But imagine, if the father recognizes that she's good in certain things, then I am told him, okay, let's stop. Tell me what your child is good at. So he said she's very loving towards the brother. She's very caring. She's very good in art. I'm like, have
Mm.
you ever told her? Like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you start with that?
Yeah.
Why don't you just start with just going for a drive with your daughter? Why don't you just, start with maybe cooking with your daughter, or
Hmm.
just being together and singing, no matter how terrible you all sing,
Right.
but singing your daughter's favorite song. So you are not just constantly rectifying her behavior, and she does not see you as a disciplinary parent or
Hmm.
a military parent, but she's seeing you as a friend.
Yeah.
Plus she's getting your attention in a positive way. Automatically, at the unconscious level, her negative ways to seek attention will reduce. Her behavior will be better
Absolutely.
then, and she'll enjoy
That's
the family's company, and she wouldn't just crave for their friends' company. And that was the child's call for help. Sometimes child will not call for help through words,
yeah.
rarely rather,
Of
but
course.
their
Yeah. Yeah.
behavior but their behavior will call for help. And this was the one. Like, I can give you another example as well, which comes to my mind, and I deal with this day in and day out. So there was, another child in grade 7th. Okay. And so the class teacher sent her to me, saying that there was some assignment, and she wrote about suicidal tendency and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And when I explored, so it was just that both the parents are working, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have time for the child. And even on the weekends, they would spend more time with the family and the outings rather than with the child. And the child was
Got
very
it.
lonely.
Mm-hmm.
She is a social child and the only child, right? And she likes being with people. And when throughout the day she reaches home at 3, parents reach home at 7 o'clock, she has no one to talk to. And whenever whatever communication is happening with the child is only about academics, completion of book,
Hmm.
um, good marks, and career. And so what are we doing
Yeah.
here? You are limiting your communication only in rectifying.
Yeah.
So how you don't communicate, you don't tell your child, I love you for what you are, not for the marks that you get.
Yeah.
Are just, as simple as just sitting together as a family. It's okay if I don't socialize with my friends on a weekend, but I sit with my daughter and watch a movie that she likes. A
Yeah.
simple thing that will make a difference to the child, and she will feel wanted. She thought that she was a disappointment to her parent because she scored low marks.
Hmm.
So she had thought, suicidal thoughts she had. So it's better if I do this. But then I'm sure when and when I spoke to the parents were, devastated. Like, how can a daughter think like
Yeah.
that? Definitely, it's not the marks. But
Yeah.
then they did always communicate about marks. Nothing about, okay, let's do things together. Let's read together. Let's go. Even if you're going for an outing, just the three of them. It need not necessarily be with the family, other, extended family, relatives, friends, because being away from your home country, you would do that very often. But it's important to sit with the
Yeah.
child, talk to the child, spend time with the child. A simple thing which I told them is, have one meal together.
Yeah. That's such a
Just
rarity these days.
just talk about how was your day, rather than saying, oh, what did you study? If your book is complete, your homework is done, just say
Yeah.
like, this is how was my day was at the office. How was your day at the school? What did you enjoy? What prank did you play? Why do we always ask, what lesson did you learn? What prank
Yeah.
did you play? Or what did you do any misbehavior, or anybody in your class did anything? And trust me, the children have so much to say.
Yep.
They have so much to say. And then share about. when you were in grade 7, how your school was, what
Mm-hmm.
pranks you did, what misbehaviors you did and your teacher shouted you for. So child will say what she did and the teacher shouted her for,
Yeah. I think
automatically.
that is such a insightful takeaway from this, right? Like, so if you are like figuring out, man, how do I start this? This is such an easy, natural, organic
Absolutely.
way of ensuring that you're creating that environment of just trust, love, and bond with your child. That it doesn't always, like you said, have to be so academic and
Absolutely.
so stringent and a very parent child, this is my role, this is your role kind of a relationship, right?
And
Awesome.
then you will not be conscious as a parent. It will be
Exactly.
a natural, what you are as a natural person.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
you cannot constantly say, okay, what happened to your grades. You are not with your boss or with
Yep.
your juniors. Okay, tell me the report and tell me the targets and tell me your failures.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
No, no, you're not that.
No, this
Right.
has been so helpful, Radhika. Like, I cannot tell you, like, I myself have taken away some really key insights from you. I wanted to thank you for your time. And I know we're going to see you back here again.
So,
I
I
know
love
we have
to.
so many more topics to explore, and I know for sure we're going to have you back. And I look forward to that happening. And I'd love for us to continue to keep in touch and give our listeners
Definitely.
more of what they want to hear.
Yes, definitely. I'll just end with, one few lines. We've talked a lot about things maybe the parents are not doing right, but I would definitely tell the parents that, don't be too harsh on yourself.
Yeah,
Take a break when needed. You are being parent for the first time, and you're doing a good job. Just pat yourself sometimes. Others might not, and others might say you're not being a good parent, but you're doing the best in your capacity. So don't be too harsh on yourself. It's very important to
absolutely.
not to go on that guilt trip, because as I said, every parent is different, every child is different, and the journey will be different. Let not the someone who's watching it from the outside comment on your journey. You know your hardships, you know your happy moments. Just relish that.
That's
So
awesome. Thank you.
that's
I
what
think
I
I
would
need to like give myself a pat on the back as
absolutely.
well. Thank you again. Thank you so much for your time. This was such an amazing conversation.